Trees and power lines are a hazardous combination. Tree interference with transmission lines is a leading cause of power outages. It's also a public safety concern. Twice a year, aerial patrols support proactive maintenance in identifying plants and trees that need to be controlled and supported, and they satisfy NERC requirements for vegetation management to prevent outages.
Sir, John Mike is currently treetop level power line patrol. We're back westbound. We're going to just graze the delta. We'd like to transition back through 0 John Mike.
A utility arborist, we maintain the vegetation along our transmission lines. My particular region has just over 1,500 miles that we maintain. We do 2 flights per year, one at the start of the growing season, one at the end of the growing season. There are 5 regions that fly, 5 regional foresters. It typically takes about 20 days to fly this entire state system. While we're in the air, I'll call out a point that I may want to look at on ground or have another planner look at on the ground. The planner in the aircraft at the time will record that. It will run through our data administrators, and then it will be pushed out to field personnel to inspect and or complete work on the lines.
Some of the most important things that we're going to find is damage to infrastructure or vegetation that is threatening the line. As soon as we see something, we will take note of it by recording that GPS point. And once we land from that helicopter flight, we can communicate that and synchronize that data with everyone else in our system. We have a lot of miles, and it's hard to have boots and eyes on every mile, but the Air Patrol lets us do that.
ITC owns and operates more than 15,000 circuit miles of power transmission lines across North America. Their biannual aerial patrols are part of an Integrated Vegetation Management, or IVM, program. The program goal is to manage the trees and vegetation in transmission corridors to help keep power flowing continuously and safely to ITC's customers and consumers. The aerial patrols have 2 important facets: proactive and reactive. The proactive facet of the program ranks vegetation risk factors. Those rankings are then used to drive the annual schedule for comprehensive vegetation management. Reactively, ITC identifies immediate vegetation risks and slates those risk factors for priority control. Then, ITC's vegetation management professionals choose the appropriate control techniques. Team members identify compatible and incompatible vegetation. The most appropriate control methods are evaluated, selected, and finally implemented to achieve the set objectives. ITC employs a staff of professional foresters, arborists, and gardeners to apply IVM as defined by the EPA. ITC's foresters and planners are certified by the International Society of Arboriculture and are required to obtain a certification within 6 months of employment. Due to the higher power load carried by transmission lines, ITC needs to maintain a wider corridor than local utility power lines require. Sometimes that means that ITC needs to return to a community more than once a year, usually in the summer, to control particularly aggressive vegetation growth. ITC also works to protect and preserve the environment while safeguarding power delivery to customers and communities. ITC Vegetation works with environmental consultants, federal, state, and local representatives, as well as individual landowners to ensure work methods protect threatened and endangered species and follow industry best practices to safely deliver bulk electricity. One example is the fungal disease oak wilt. During the period oak trees are the most susceptible, ITC's office staff use their GIS work planning software to temporarily deactivate oak species trims and removals. When it's safe for the oak trees to be managed, office staff then reactivate the oak trims and removals so the tree contractors can complete the pending oak tree work. However, if an oak tree must be pruned or removed during the oak wilt season, it's treated with an industry-approved wound sealant within minutes of cutting. To manage all types of vegetation, ITC uses a balanced approach to selecting control techniques. The methods used may include mechanical, such as mowing or side trimming, manual, such as hand pruning or hand tilling. Biological control, such as grazing or introducing plants that outcompete incompatible vegetation. Chemical, such as carefully applied herbicides. Cultural, such as companion planting and introducing hardscapes or mulching. And controlled burning. ITC also partners with land managers, such as park systems and natural resource management agencies. These partnerships help us enhance natural habitat and protect our resources. ITC also promotes the establishment of natural prairie that provide pollinator-rich environments in the right-of-way as they cross individual and collective properties. This approach helps keep ITC's transmission lines protected and the plant life in transmission corridors vibrant and healthy.
Each project is unique in the fact that different vegetation that is either in a backyard or a park or similar has a different impact on the system. So in the case of Hines Park, we had older, larger trees that we were concerned were going to fall into the lines. In other areas, we have vegetation that has been planted under the lines, and we have a concern they're going to grow into the lines and cause a conflict. So in this situation, we reviewed the entire corridor that impacts Hines Park and determined that in certain areas we could remove trees and hand cut along the river. The other areas we are leaving 90% of the vegetation, but only removing by hand cutting some of the incompatible vegetation.
Tree trimming or removal can be sensitive, so ITC communicates closely with property owners using a variety of methods, such as door hang cards, tree markings, and direct contact with residents when appropriate. A customer line is also available during business hours, and our team responds to every call in a timely manner.
We know the removal of trees and vegetation can be a sensitive issue, but we also understand that the removal of incompatible vegetation is very important for the sustainable use of our transmission corridors. Working with residents and community leaders, we try to educate them on the value that they're getting and also on the creation of a new ecosystem.
Through IVM, ITC has the methodology to convert incompatible woody species environments to compatible herbaceous environments. When planning their IVM program, ITC considers the needs of all stakeholders, including customers, consumers, landowners, and communities. The IVM staff at ITC also collaborates with the environmental, real estate, and community relations departments, as well as outside partners, to provide stakeholders with sponsorship support, partnerships, and certification and awards for achievement.
The community obviously was very concerned about the amount of vegetation we were asking to remove. So we started working with them on an effort to utilize some of the wood for other means. We talked to Wayne County Parks representatives, and they got in contact with a sawmill, an individual who's going to come out and remove the good wood from the site, and he's going to turn that wood into lumber. Some of that lumber will be used on site within the Wayne County Parks for park benches. Other lumber that's created will be utilized through the Habitat for Humanity resale outlets, and then that money will go back into helping their efforts.
ITC manages the transmission corridor all year round. This approach to vegetation management ensures that we use our expertise to balance required clearing and environmental concerns when scheduling and executing our vegetation plans. For example, during the high demand of the summer months, vegetation schedules critical areas to be inspected and cleared in preparation to help ensure reliability. In the winter months, we schedule and perform vegetation work in environmentally sensitive areas as much as possible, as generally there are less restrictions when species are dormant or have migrated, and usually the ground is frozen. Our approach addresses all of our community's concerns and ensures that the right tree is in the right place to keep power flowing to our customers, consumers, and communities. ITC, working together for the greater grid.